My name is Marcello Moino, and I am one of the assistant superintendents in the Langley School District. I would like to tell you a little bit more about Phase 2 of the Northeast Latimer Elementary boundary process. Before we begin, as we gather today to continue our work to inspire all of our learners to reach their full potential, we acknowledge that we do so on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Matsqui, Kwantlen, Katzie, and Semiahmoo First Nations. In terms of the agenda, first we'd like to talk a little bit about growth in the RE Mountain Catchment, summarizing some of the slides from Phase 1. We'd like to review the process we've gone through so far in terms of our consultation. Want to then share with you the parent community consultation themes, as well as the 6 most popular questions in terms of what was received at the board office. We want to share with you key considerations that the district is looking at in terms of drawing the boundaries. And then we would like to show you the boundary change options. Finally, we would like to end with what the next steps are. Of course, we know with the boundary change process, we are all about providing numbers and showing how those numbers help to create decisions. But we also want to remind families that when it comes to making decisions, that the Langley School District does keep its students and its families in mind, and that you very much are a part of helping us make the decisions we make. Your part in terms of feedback with this consultation are an example of how you can then impact the decisions the district makes. Here's a slide that you might have seen in Phase 1, just summarizing the growth in all of the Willoughby Slope schools. Very quickly, there have been 2 overflow schools, Lynn Fripps Elementary and Langley Meadows Elementary. These 2 schools have accepted students from other catchments where the schools, again, have been full at a particular grade, for example, and then those students have then gone to the 2 overflow schools. Here's a new slide in terms of growth. You'll notice as you look at projections from September 2023-2024 in terms of that school year, all the way to September 2030, there are 3 main conclusions that stand out. First, Donna Gabriel Robins is the fastest growing elementary catchment on the Willoughby Slope. Willoughby Elementary is the second fastest growing elementary catchment on the slope. And finally, we can see that Langley Meadows is the only catchment on the slope that will see falling enrollment. In terms of our process thus far, district staff have met with the RE Mountain family of school administrators and certainly with the community. And district staff also have met to discuss the feedback from the community, impacts, supports, and other boundary change options, all connected again to your feedback as well as what projections show us. The district has reached out to PAC and parent meetings on the Willoughby Slope, starting September 16th and going to October 15th. There were 8 meetings. We combined RE Mountain and Peter Ewart Middle in one meeting online. In that meeting, we also had an American Sign Language interpreter who assisted us with that presentation. In terms of the parent community consultation themes, we collected questions, we collected comments at each meeting. There were 26 additional emails sent to the feedback at st35.bc.ca email. In terms of themes, the 5 themes that emerged the most in terms of frequency. First, in terms of building of future schools, building design, modular buildings, just questions of that nature. Combined, those topics were the most frequent. As a single topic, before and after school childcare was the single most frequent question or comment at the various meetings. A third theme was grandfathering and transitions and what that would look like in terms of students going from one school to another. Another set of questions was asked in terms of the process of actually building schools and the relationships between the district, the Ministry of Education and Childcare, and the township, and what that looked like. And finally, we received some questions on just general information about Northeast Latimer Elementary, such as how many classrooms and that kind of thing. In terms of the sample questions, we're going to share with you the 6 most frequent questions in terms of just themes. Question 1, once Northeast Latimer Elementary is completed, where will the next elementary school be built? As you can see, the district has sent requests to the Ministry of Education in terms of 2 new elementary schools. Our top priority is for an elementary school in the Southwest Latimer neighborhood, to the south and to the west of 200th. Will there be childcare spaces at the new school, and how many spaces will be available? Again, with the building of the new school, there will be more childcare spaces available on the Willoughby slope. Because of growth in the region, the district expects to create before and after school care spaces offered on site. We don't yet have a guarantee as to what that will look like, but we do know that that is a priority based on your feedback. What is the process for accessing childcare? Will Northeast Latimer Elementary families get preference? And so childcare plans, again, haven't been established, but we have learned lessons from the Donna Gabriel Robins Elementary experience. Our goal will be to review the childcare details, including program offerings, timelines, and registration instructions, and we'll share that with the community at a later date. Again, advanced registration for childcare will be considered, and our goal is to just make decisions sooner than during the last process at Donna Gabriel Robins. And again, we will keep you apprised of those decisions. Will there be grandfathering when the new school opens? And again, when Donna Gabriel Robins opened, the district did not have grandfathering. Based on the new catchments, that's where families and students went to school. As you can imagine, trying to organize grandfathering where a child goes to a school that they're not supposed to in terms of catchment, and then they end up having 2 or 3 other siblings, you can see that grandfathering could create quite a few variables over several years, rather than just creating some immediate relief for families. Can a student who is attending an overflow school stay at that school? So for example, Lynn Fripps and Langley Meadows are the overflow schools. Again, the district cannot guarantee that students can stay, but we will take into consideration and we will review on a case-to-case basis what that might look like. More information to come as we finalize our decisions and processes around boundaries. And the 6th most frequent question, when do we get notified of school transfer and moving to the new school? If timelines go ahead as planned, students and families should know the school they will be attending in September by spring 2025. Our goal is as soon as possible in the new year. Again, as per district administrative procedures, kindergarten registration is expected to close before the end of February. So some key considerations we took into account when actually looking at the boundary options. As much as possible, we do want students to attend their catchment schools. Based on the trends that you saw on a previous slide, we very much considered and understood the importance of decreasing the Donna Gabriel Robins Elementary catchment, because it is the fastest growing catchment, decreasing the Willoughby Elementary catchment, which is the second fastest growing catchment, and growing the Langley Meadows Elementary catchment to counter falling enrollment. Again, based on feedback from families, we also want to ensure that as many before and after school spaces are created as possible at Northeast Latimer to meet demand. We want to ensure that before and after school childcare transition plan is made as early as possible, again, to assist families with the possible changes in catchment. Finally, again, as mentioned in phase 1, we do consider the location of main roads and other geographic features when drawing new boundary lines. And we also want to consider that the next elementary school should certainly be kept in consideration when drawing the lines for Northeast Latimer. Again, we believe that the next elementary school will be Southwest Latimer, but again, that will be up to the Ministry of Education and Childcare, as will the timelines for that. So, proposed boundary changes. I'd like to start with just a reminder of our current boundaries. What I'd like to do is keep this same map and actually show, using this map, what some of the proposed changes will be. That way you will be able to get a sense of, compared to current boundaries, what does it look like is happening, and what are the changes. So let me now go to this next slide. So in terms of boundary options, between Northeast Latimer and Willoughby, we see that Northeast Latimer in green is in the Willoughby catchment. So where will the line be there? We see two options. One option is on 202B, another option on 204th Street. So take a look. This first line shows if the boundary were straight down 204th Street. In terms of these next three lines, you'll see that's what it would look like if the catchment then were to move over to 202B for part of that stretch. The little region that you see inside those two red lines, that would then belong to Willoughby if we chose 202B as the boundary line. In terms of between Northeast Latimer and Langley Meadows, again, there's a couple of options we're looking at. It is to go anywhere between 72nd and 76th Avenue. Currently, the Meadows catchment is on 69th Avenue. So you'll see where the arrow pointing up is on the bottom left of the map. That's 72nd, here's 76. And so we believe that the boundary will be somewhere in between those lines, again, based on the numbers that we see. In terms of Northeast Latimer and Donna Gabriel Robins, we want to maintain that boundary you see in blue along 80th Avenue. And then we want to then go down 200th, so that west of 200th, those students will go either to Northeast Latimer or to Langley Meadows. We do have an additional option because, again, one of the goals is we have to be cautious not to make Willoughby too small of a catchment. And so you'll see the arrow right in the middle of the map. And we could potentially, as an option then, lower that boundary line down to either 76th Avenue or further south to 74B Avenue. So let's look at each option in a bit more detail and kind of in a color-coded way, which again, I hope will provide some clarity to you. Please note in yellow in every option, there will be no changes to the Richard Bulpett, R.C. Garnett, and Lynn Fripps catchments. So you'll see option 1 then looks at having the boundary at 204th Street. And it's now circled in red for clarity. You'll see then when it comes to the Langley Meadows catchment at 69th Avenue moving north to somewhere between 72nd and 76th Avenue. Again, that is undetermined at the moment. Okay, let's look at option 2. Option 2 is, again, taking that 204th Street boundary line and actually having a small portion head to 202B. That means the area in green will still belong to the Willoughby Elementary as it currently does now. And again, as mentioned before, the Langley Meadows catchment will move north from 69th Avenue to somewhere between 72nd and 76th Avenue. Option 3 is, this is where we're looking at extending the Willoughby Elementary catchment south into Donna Gabriel Robins. You'll see that red circle there. And again, that line could be anywhere between 76th down as far as 74B Avenue. That is still undetermined. The other option, which is again the same in all three of the options, is Langley Meadows moving north from 69th Avenue catchment up to somewhere between 72nd and 76th. So some additional considerations as now that you've seen those boundary lines. One question is, will students who want to stay at overflow schools be able to stay at those overflow schools, specifically Lynn Fripps and Langley Meadows, if there is space? That's a question we have yet to determine based on, again, the feedback, but also the numbers. We want to ensure that there is some balance of population among the 7 elementary schools, while at the same time we need to ensure that the fastest growing catchment schools still have space to grow. The fastest growing catchment school, based on our projections, will be Northeast Latimer. So how do we then take a piece of Northeast Latimer so that the numbers aren't too high to start and the school does not open full or even above capacity? What other childcare options besides before and after school care, if any, will be offered at the school? And finally, the last question, once we've answered the questions in terms of where the boundary lines are, we'll then look at middle school. What middle school will Northeast Latimer students attend? Next steps. Our goal is to survey families in the current Willoughby, Donna Gabriel Robins, and Langley Meadows Elementary catchments regarding before and after school childcare needs. And in fact, as we record this for your viewing, we have actually completed that and are currently analyzing that information to help us in terms of the needs for before and after school care at Northeast Latimer Elementary. We also then will decide who will run the childcare options, and we want to begin that licensing process as soon as possible to assist families. Then we need to survey some out-of-catchment families enrolled since September, and we've started that process already as well, to see would they want to remain in their current school. Depending on needs, we may actually expand that survey to all out-of-catchment families in both the Lynn Fripps and Langley Meadows catchments, again, just to help us determine where those boundary lines will go based on numbers at each school. We'll certainly use that information to determine the approximate enrollment at each slope school based on the proposed change options, where those lines are, and the above survey. We also then want to be able to get a sense of the number of divisions at each grade, because that will help us as well. Please note that the kindergarten registration does not begin until January, February, and our process needs to be done before then. So what we will use for that is our kindergarten projections to help us in terms of that. We want to be able to do address checks of students whose mailing address does not match their actual physical MyEd BC address. Again, with so many families being impacted, we want to make sure we're doing the best we can to be as fair and transparent as possible. And then finally, we're going to consider feedback from the October 28 to 30, 2024 Phase 2 consultation meetings. That includes feedback that you will be sending in terms of the email address to the district, which is on the last slide. We're then going to present to trustees at the December 10, 2024 regular board meeting. Please note that in the previous presentation, we had talked about potentially presenting to trustees on November the 17th. What we found is it's just not enough time to crunch all of the numbers and to go through all of the feedback that we need to make sure we come up with the best possible decision. One last note is any feedback via email must be received by Friday, November the 15th, 2024, to be considered. Finally, in terms of, do you have questions? Do you have feedback? If so, please use the email address on the right of the slide there. Please send an email, again, up until November the 15th if you'd like it to be considered. And that will very much be a part of our process as we work towards coming up with final decisions regarding the boundary lines on the Willoughby slope, all connected to the opening of Northeast Latimer in September of 2025. Very much thank you for your time, and we wish you all a wonderful rest of your day and week. Thank you.